Chapter 5. Just give in. "Wait," I whispered hoarsely behind Lee. "What?" Lee turned his head towards me and asked. But I didn't have anything to say. I was as bad as his classmates who raise their hands in class when they don't have a question or a comment, but just want to be called on. Lee continued up. "Lou," I turned towards my younger boy, "do you want to be after Lee or after me?" I think I was just trying to stall. He contorted his face into his melting monster imitation, which he calls on when he doesn't have an answer, but he thinks the question is stupid, and just wants it all to go away. He nods and bobs his head, sticks out his tongue, and his eyes go googly like a bewitched doll. "Why don't you go now after Lee, and then I'll be last?" I asked my son, the dorky goblin. He made his way up the tunnel by holding on to the sides as best he could. I took a look back into the small park, didn't see anyone or anything that made me think of a reason we shouldn't be doing this, except for my fatherly notion that it was probably a bad idea. I followed my boys up the tunnel. "Lee, what do you see?" I asked, as the silence in the park and sound of our panting and slipping shoes were not distracting enough. "That light is getting brighter," he said. I couldn't see him ahead of Lou, but from the sound of his voice he couldn't have been too far ahead of me. "Okay, let me know when you see something," I replied. I have a real issue when, in movies, the actors say things that are so obvious that they just don't need to be said. Maybe I'm a bit extreme in this perspective, but of course Lee will tell me when he sees something. Of course he'll be careful and try not to slip. I don't need to tell him to be careful and not slip. Or do I? "Hurry up," in the scene when they're running from the killer. "Hold on tight," when they're dangling from a rope outside of a building. It's just empty filler dialogue. But here I am reminding him to let me know if he sees something, as if he'd keep it to himself and only later, maybe at dinner, mention in passing that he saw a giant alligator. We moved along. "I see a candle," Lee whispered excitedly, as he was the leader. "I can go near it. There's an opening." "Wait a second. What's that?" "What's what?" I whispered back, as if whatever else was in here with us didn't already know that there were two boys, a father and a dog, in their tunnel. "It's on a rock. There's a bed of straw and what?" "There's another opening." "Hold on, we're almost there," I said as I scrambled up as fast as I could behind Lou's feet. Within seconds we were all back in the opening where the candle still flickered. The open area was as large as a minivan. Lou could stand up and did. Lee was by the candle. "Don't burn yourself," I said, as Lee loved playing with candles. That trait was certainly passed on through generations. "Look behind the rock, behind the candle," Lee said. "There's another tunnel." Lou and I moved towards Lee and looked behind the rock where the candle was. I suppose if I were more of an investigator, I could have estimated how long the candle had been burning and calculated how long ago someone was there to light it. But who lights candles in the middle of tunnel under city parks? I'm not sure I wanted to know. "Let's go in," Lou said. I was going to hold my tongue before I yet again mentioned the potential pitfalls of going still deeper into the unknown. Am I just a party pooper or a regular parent? Maybe both. Maybe neither. I was about to say, "Wait," or "Hold on," or some other such apparent nonsense, but when I said nothing, Lou and Lee stared at me, waiting for an answer. "Okay, let's go," I said.